Hi, my name is Martijn Oldenhoff and I'm a PhD student at KU Leuven. The aim of this presentation is to give an overview of our work and the platform we used in the IMI Melody project. I will describe the platform we developed, which was the first industry-scale platform to enable the creation of a global federated model for drug discovery without sharing the confidential datasets of the individual partners. This platform also enabled to generate new scientific discoveries, which I will shortly highlight. So the context of our work is the Melody project, which was comprised of 10 pharma partners and also public partners like academic research labs, large industrial companies and startups. So the main motivation and objective of Melody is to make the process of drug discovery more efficient, as bringing a drug to the market is a costly and also a very long process. On average, it takes almost 2 billion euros and 13 years. So any increase in efficiency could lead to a big reduction in cost and time. Pharma companies also have each a large volume of chemical and biological data available to be used in this drug discovery process. And so applying machine learning methods using this data is a promising approach and can improve efficiency in this field. But of course, as the data is confidential for each pharma company, each company will develop on its own a machine learning model using this data. And so instead, if the pharma companies, which are competitors of each other, could cooperate in a way, they could benefit all together by obtaining a better and more accurate machine learning model. And so this idea of competition is actually the spark that initiated the Melody project. And so with Melody, the idea or research question we wanted to give an answer to is, what if multiple parties would share the joint representation but privatize the mappings to each party's assay? And our hypothesis was that it would help to obtain a more accurate machine learning model for all participating partners. And so in Melody, more specific, every partner would have activity data of chemical compounds on private assays. So on this slide, the columns represent the private assays or tasks and could be different for every partner. And the rows represent a chemical compound. So the multitask approach across partners would use the data available for all tasks in order to improve the predictive performance and the applicability of the resulting model. So how to achieve the Melody objective? We used federated learning using a multitask model using data from different partners. The model itself is split in a shared trunk part, which represents the jointly learned representation, and on top the different private heads, which are different for each partner, so all correctly maps to their private tasks. Secondly, in order to achieve the Melody objective, a privacy-preserving federated learning platform needed to be developed so that data is not shared between partners and the training of the machine learning model is orchestrated by a model dispatcher. So within the developed federated Melody platform, the pharma nodes consists of privately pharma-owned clouds, where each pharma partner uploads the data generated from local pharma premises. On each pharma node, also the models, both private and shared parts, are saved and can be retrieved by the operational contacts of each partner. In the federated setup of the data, the data stays always on each pharma node. So after model initialization, a training step is executed locally on each pharma node. Local gradients are then calculated on each node, and for the shared trunk, these gradients are sent in a cryptographically secure way to the model dispatcher. The model dispatcher will then aggregate them, and this process is repeated each training step. The model dispatcher sends each training step the aggregated gradient back to the pharma nodes, and now each pharma node will update the shared trunk using the aggregated gradients and update the private head using only the local gradients. And so the resulting shared trunk represents then the jointly learned representation. So to summarize, on the Melody platform, the data always stays on the private cloud of each partner. Also, the model stays locally, and the shared trunk is trained jointly by using the model dispatcher, which aggregates the gradients from all models. So how the Melody platform works operationally. First, deployment and setup of infrastructure is done on the pharma nodes by each of the pharma IT operational contacts with the tools provided by the public partners Okin and Kubernetes. The central node, however, where the model dispatcher is hosted, is deployed by Kubernetes and Okin. And once the infrastructure is deployed, the compute plans are prepared, where the first step is the preparation of the datasets and metrics by the IT operational contacts who are managing each pharma node. And once the datasets are registered on the pharma nodes, in the second step for compute plan preparations, data scientists will prepare an algorithm and model together with the hyperparameters for running on the datasets. And once the compute plan is then launched, the model dispatcher will orchestrate a model to initiate on each pharma node. The model itself is also split in the private and shared part. And so for the shared part, the gradients are sent back to the central node, and so the central node can perform the aggregating step. Once aggregated, the aggregated gradients are sent back to the pharma nodes so that the shared trunk is updated and the next training step can start. So this process is now repeated until convergence or until an evaluation task is initiated to measure the performance of the model while training. Once the compute plan is done, the model can be downloaded by the pharma partners where an offline evaluation can be performed. The application layer of the platform relies heavily on Okin Connect, which itself depends on Substra, which is an open source software mainly developed by Okin. Okin Connect implements on top of Substra the secure aggregation and the tools to deploy the platform. And so for the application layer of Okin Connect, the main components are shown here inside the pharma organization on one hand and the aggregating organization on the other hand. And also Connect interfaces and libraries are used to interact with the Connect backend, either by data scientists or IT operational contacts. So now that we understand a bit better how the platform works, let us see what the platform has produced. So in the Melody project, every year the throughput and performance of platform increased. And so in the last year of the project, the platform was able to produce 219 compute plans on 4 different datasets, which translates to a compute budget of almost $1.2 million US. In terms of scientific results, the compute plans resulted in improvements across all pharmaceutical partners in the predictive performance of multi-partner trained models over single partner models, measured using 3 metrics. For the classification models produced by the platform, the primary evaluation metric was AUCPR on average across more than 100,000 machine learning tasks. For the regression model, the metric reported was R-squared. And lastly, the extension domain applicability measured as the delta median conformal efficiency for classifications means that the model can support navigation of a broader chemical space previously unknown to that partner. So on the figure, what is plotted for the 3 metrics is the relative improvements to perfection, where a single partner performance is 0 and a perfect model is 1. So to conclude, the ready-to-use platform described in this work demonstrates that federated learning for drug discovery is possible on industry scale. It enabled a groundbreaking collaboration without sharing data in an industry where data confidentiality is high priority. And all 10 pharma partners attest to observe benefits for living and ADME assays and aim to utilize the models in their internal pipelines. And finally, there is interest to use the platform beyond Melody scope, and formalities and initiatives are ongoing. Before ending this presentation, I would like to thank all the project contributors of the Melody project, as without them, all of this would not be possible. Also, thank you for watching, and I would also suggest strongly to check out our paper for more details. And of course, feel free to reach out in case of questions.